Hi everyone, welcome to the new episode of Blood, Sweat and Beers, a podcast presented by Sports Kabri. This is one of the most special episodes because we are very happy to welcome all of you back from the international break, and all of us have been dying for Premier League football, and it's been a long break for us, especially for some fans like United fans and Leeds fans, because after the Queen's death, which was very unfortunate, we there was an enforced break of 1 week for a lot, one game week for a lot of clubs, and then a second game week as well for a lot of clubs, and then obviously the international break kicked in. So 3 weeks, and we've had no Premier League football. But finally, guys, we are back, and I don't think we could have started the week with better fixtures in the United versus City game and the Arsenal versus Tottenham London derby. Two big derbies this weekend, and which will absolutely shape the season of all the four teams. So, welcome Rahul Saha, Rahul Naresh, Ali Kazi, our experts on the panel, our regular experts. How does it feel for you guys to see the Premier League starting again?
Um, I'm extremely excited that the Premier League's back. The international breaks are so annoying. I mean, you get to see some quality football, yes, but it's not the same as having Premier League football. Um, Obviously, the Queen's death was really sad in many ways, but yeah, and we didn't get football as a result of it. So it's been a long break since we've seen some real football. We saw a lot of teams miss out on the previous game week. So it's nice to finally have every Premier League team playing again this week, and no better way to kick it off than the North London derby at 5 this evening.
Yeah, I
Ali,
echo
how
everything
about
Rahul
you? Yeah,
said,
Rahul.
and
Yeah.
yeah, I echo everything Rahul said, and apart from the excitement, there is a bit of nervousness as well because the tough fixtures come for Arsenal after a very good start to the season. But yeah, the best part is that from now on till the till the World Cup, there is no break, so we'll have like loads of football, and hopefully there is no breaks in between.
Actually, because of no football for us, for I think more than 3 weeks for United, even Arsenal got a game to play in between. So, and the kind of game we have now coming up on Sunday, the toughest match in the league for us. So, I'm more worried than being excited, to be honest, because I thought going into the game against City, playing two more games we would have had a better team. So I'm a bit confused what will happen. Although I'm excited that Premier League is back, but let's see. My excitement is lesser than my worries.
So Rahul, I think among us, you are the only one who hasn't used his wild card, right?
Yeah, I haven't used my wild card yet.
So are you looking to use a wild card because there was a gap of there was a blank like entire blank game in between. Then there were blanks for certain teams in between for game week 8. So like is your team still set up for the next run of fixtures, or are you looking to wild card and make some changes to your entire squad?
Not That's the tricky part. So the problem I have in my team is that I have no City players at the moment. So if I were to
Okay.
use my wildcard, it would mainly be to bring in a couple of City players. But I feel like my team is good. I don't need to use a wildcard right now. But the only problem I have is the City conundrum, and I want one or two City players, and I'm not able to bring them in with my current team. Um,
Yeah,
with regard to
I can,
fixtures,
I
not
can, yeah, I can see that Haaland is the non-negotiable. But why
yeah,
you do want to bring in more City players? Because they also, you have to remember, they have a blank in game with 12 against our club Arsenal. So
yeah.
why would you try to bring in two or three City players then?
Just for the fact that just
Excuse me.
one more. So my second option for a City player would be a City defender, somebody like
Okay.
a Ruben Diaz or a Kyle Walker, somebody who's going to play every week and give me just for those added clean sheet points. That's it. That's the only reason I want to bring in another City player.
So if you are not looking to use your wildcard this week, then what, in your opinion, what is the optimal time to use your wildcard then?
So
For those people like who have their
yeah,
wildcard remaining.
yeah. So that's a conversation that I'm that's something I've really thought about. I still do not have the answer to that, unfortunately. It's something I'm still thinking about as to when I really need to use my wildcard. But I feel like one of the reasons I'm keeping my wildcard in my pocket is purely because of injuries. I've seen you see it a lot. You see like 3-4 players getting injured in one game week, and then suddenly you have to use your wild card. So I'm probably holding on for that point in time. That's about it.
But don't you see that there's a negative to that as well? Because after game week 16, everybody gets unlimited transfers to make, which eventually is a kind of a wild card,
Fair
you can
enough.
say.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So like
Yeah.
if you hold it long too far long, then won't it and that will affect your team's ability to get an edge over the other players?
No, that's absolutely true. That's I think what you're saying absolutely makes sense. The I'm not saying I won't use my wild card in the next couple of weeks. I'm just saying I just don't know when in that next couple of weeks. So if there is, for example, now because everybody's back from the international break, because and if some players are not rotated and some players are fatigued and they play this week and you have like 2-3 injuries, I think it's probably the right time to use a wild card. So just let's just wait and see for me as to how players go after the international break and whether some of them pick up a few injuries and it could be a little concerning, and then I'd have to add put in my wild card. So probably just
And just for
one week.
viewers, any teams that you would like to target in that run, like when you will be wild carding the teams that you would look to uh, have in your team.
Yeah, so I definitely bring in. We were talking about this, I think, a while ago. I definitely look into bring in some Liverpool players, especially double up or triple up on Liverpool players after the City game. So they have, so they play this week. Um, I think that yeah, they're playing Brighton this week. Then they have Arsenal and then City. So after as soon as the City game is done, and if you're looking to use your wild card, then you definitely look to triple up on Liverpool, because the only game I think tricky game they have in the middle after that run is a Spurs game somewhere in the middle. But apart
Yeah,
from
they
that, they
have
have a
it in
good run
game
of
week
fixtures.
15.
Yeah, but apart from that Spurs game, they have a good run of fixtures. So triple up on Liverpool then.
Agree.
Yeah.
Adi,
Yeah, guys. Sorry,
Shrikant, your view?
yeah. I hit a technical snag there. I'm extremely sorry for that. But yeah, season, and it didn't really go well for me. Rahul Saha has used his wild card, and Ali, I think you've also used your wild card, right?
Yes, yes, I did in game week 3, I think. 3 or 3.
Yeah. So, do you guys regret that decision, or you guys think that it was taken at the right time, or this is the right time to take it, or maybe you would advise people? How would you advise people who still haven't used the wild cards?
Personally, I don't regret using my wild card because initially at the start of season, I messed up with my team. I was completely getting in the first 2 or 3 game weeks. I got lesser and lesser points. So that's the reason I used my wild card at that time. And I backed on United players. I had three of them. They didn't turn up. They didn't do anything for me. So as soon as I get rid of all of them, they started performing. So
Yeah.
in both ways, I'm pretty content after using my wild card. So my team has performed much better since then. So again, I
But
think using, yeah.
no, no, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah. I think personally, I think using wildcard is in 2 ways. One thing is if your team is working properly, then you might be in confusion and when and how to use it, as Rahul Naresh is. And the other thing is if we had chosen something wrong or players get injured, as was my case, I had a completely bad 11 initially. So that's where I had the chance to use the wildcard, and I'm pretty content with it.
Rahul, this has obviously been a 3 week break, right? Between the two fixtures and between the two game weeks. And do you think it's been like an ample time to just go through what has been going on throughout the FPL season? What have been the positives, the negatives? So if you look at your team, or if you want to talk about the advice which you would probably give to someone right now, how do you think people should analyze their teams and how should they be moving forward from this point onward? For example, what kind of midfielders one should target in the coming game weeks after the season that is gone by, that is ongoing, that Like for example, what kind of midfielders in the range of 7.5 to 8.5 would you be targeting for the upcoming fixtures now, looking at the performance so far this season?
Yes, I think for me, like in that price range, I would go with Wilfried Zaha as my first choice. After him, I would have James Madison, and after him, I will have. Like, it is a toss up between, I feel between Phil Foden and Bukayo Saka. Like, but the other two are clear in my opinion. It is a toss up between both Saka and Foden because like they have shown that despite people saying they haven't lived up to their full ability this season, they have they're still uh, had good matches and has decent enough output against their names from the first initial 8 game weeks. And when you look at their fixtures apart from that game week 12 blank, they have, I would say, decent fixtures in terms of attacking returns, either like either side of it. So yeah, if you are looking to go for a differential, then I would say Zaha finally has the run of fixtures with him to haul big in this run of 8 fixture from game week 9 to 16. So Zaha, yes, Zaha is the one for me. And I feel like Ali will be really happy now because he has been, persisting with Saha since game week 1. When I was,
Yes, yes,
when I
I
told you
am.
like this is the right not right time to have him.
And
But Ali,
and
don't
even then he delivered within those difficult
Yeah, yeah,
fixtures.
true.
Yeah, Zaha for sure has been one of the most consistent picks this season, and especially at that prices. But are you surprised that he's still at 8.5? And do you think that his price should slightly get higher as the season
He's at
progresses?
7.2.
Oh,
Yeah.
7.2, sorry. Yeah, yeah. Don't you think it's too low for a player of Zaha's quality?
Not
Actually,
really,
the
I think.
thing, yeah, yeah, go on, Ali.
I get him. No, not really, I think, because the prices are based on their previous performances, and he hasn't been very much consistent like other players. So he wasn't usually a right choice to pick, even at 6.5 or a 7 in last season, to be honest. But this time around, I had the good feeling that he would perform better in this setup and around these kinds of players. That's why I backed on him. So I personally feel his price is justified, just because of, I think he missed 1 or 2 games because of injuries. That's why his price hasn't been turned up much. Otherwise, it would have been maybe 7.4, I think, by now if he was consistent, more consistent.
But so Rahul Naresh, this is the question for you. Which other player in this price range do you think people should be targeting for the coming game weeks?
Firstly, I completely agree with the list of players that Rahul Saha put out, and I think you'd be, if you have Zaha in your team, you'd be a fool to throw him out at this point. Stick with Zaha. He's on penalties for Crystal Palace, and he will score goals. Apart from that, I would I feel like there is a conversation to be made for lower price players like Martin Odegaard, who is a part of an Arsenal team that has scored every Premier League game this season. And for a team that scores from midfield, we saw Fabio Vieira score last week. And if you're in a team that is scoring from midfield, you can have midfielders in that price range as well. He's on the lower side. He's about 6.5 at the moment, and isn't a bad shout either.
So Rahul, again, just coming back to the other question that I asked you, in terms of treating it as a break of people getting time to evaluate their strategies, any particular strategy that you have come up with for the future game weeks till at least the World Cup?
Yeah, yeah. For me, like at the start of the season, like I was playing it, like for my liking, I was playing it very safe, and in a way, it has backfired. So, like since game week 6 onwards, I have started to be more of myself, and because see. I do all the research and analysis, but at the end of the day, when it comes to FPL, you have to go back your gut instinct as well, and which I was not doing, because since you see, like Ali and I both took our wildcards at the same time. However, the reason why my teams hasn't scored very well is because I have left too many points on the bench. If you look at my team, like my team is averaging 12 to 13 points on the bench every game week. So I have to sort this out in the so for sort this out in the earliest, because I what I was thinking is that there might be rotation from the first or second Champions League game week, from the start of that phase. However, if you look at how that wasn't the case, but from now onwards till the World Cup, there will be heavy rotation, because there is a game every 3 to 4 days for every single club. So I feel while people were for better words, mostly spending their money on their first 11, and not were not looking to delve too much into their bench. I feel this is now the time to to prepare a squad where, if let's say you have a great 11, and just at the end of this week 2 or 3 players get injured, but you have 3 able backups in the bench to to just instantly come into your team and save you that free transfer. So this is the first trend. I think that this will be picked up from this game week onwards, and front three will be a must in most teams. You will see from here onwards, like, because you see, while like for players like Harry Kane, or Jamie Vardy or Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who are priced at 11 or 10 million pounds. So for those guys, they are able, substitutes at the price range around the 6.5, 7 or 7.5 million marks. Let's say the likes of Mitrovic, Callum Wilson, Ivan Toney, and these guys. So this availability of option gives managers the freedom to have just 3 starting forwards. However, since you don't have this luxury in the midfield range, in the midfield bracket, or at the defensive forward, so yeah, front three will be a must in most teams as a trend, and I feel like back three will become the norm again. We will see few teams go with a back five or a back four.
Okay, so before we move forward, how about we just have a look at the teams for game week 9 of all our experts and mine. How about we start with Ali's team? Ali, have you made any changes for the
No, no,
from game
I
from the
did not.
last week?
No, I did not
Okay.
make any changes. I saved it. As Rahul just now mentioned, I feel like I have a decent enough bench because all these three players always tend to play, and I have Bernardo on the bench right now. So
So you've just
again,
gone back. Okay, so you've gone with your
actually,
previous team. Yeah. Sorry,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. Actually, what I was doing initially was I replaced Bernardo. I played Bernardo and replaced Saliba on the bench,
Hmm.
but my gut feeling was he might be used as a rotation and Foden might start. So that's why I'm not risking him.
But are you sure you want to keep Haaland in your team this week?
I have to.
Especially as they're playing against United.
That doesn't matter. I have to somehow because
Yeah, because for me, it
I
always gets. Yeah.
I can't play Nico Williams or Andreas Pereira for Haaland. That would be very foolish. So I have to go with him. Even though I hope he doesn't score, I would be very happy. But the,
Yeah,
the
but
the way he's playing, he's the most likely to score a goal on this planet right now.
yeah, that's true, but that's also the thing with these fantasy Premier Leagues, because one way or the other you are going to lose uh
Yeah,
in this fixture, either via Haaland or via United, or maybe if it's a draw and no one does anything. So anyway, it's a loss. But interesting. That's a very interesting team. So how about we go with Rahul Naresh's team next, and let's see what kind of changes. Rahul, if you can just take us through your team and tell us if there are any changes that you made or the reasons behind that.
Yeah, I've just made one change. It was a forced change. I had to take out Alexander Isak because of injury and bring in Michael Antonio. I was actually pretty confused. I think I had about 7 odd million in my bank, and I wasn't quite sure as to who to bring in as my third striker. But I was just looking at an option who is likely to play, likely to start, and could give me an odd goal. Because more often than not, I'll be playing Jesus and Tony in my starting 11. So that may
Okay.
really change.
Rahul, Saha, before we move on to your team, I just have a very small question. So, looking at Naresh's change that he had to make because of Isaac's injury, uh, is there? Would you have changed Isaac with with any other player, or you would have also gone with someone like an Antonio? What is your opinion on that?
Like if it was down to me, I would have rather gone with Callum Wilson from Newcastle itself because I feel like more than Isaac, I feel Wilson is a better option. However, the only asterisk against him name comes from that is he's injury prone and he is just coming back from an injury. Like he was injured from game week 3 to game week 6, I think. Then there was no game in game week 7, and I think he was on the bench for game week 8. So yeah, I think so. I will instead go with Callum Wilson, and other than that, like Leicester also have a good run of fixtures. So you can all if you are to take a punt, you can also take a punt on Patson Daka. But then there's a rotation risk with Jamie Vardy, like I have been in the Twitter this morning, and the news coming out of Leicester was that although Jamie Vardy hasn't started the last 2 or 3 games, but he is in the reckoning to start the next fixture against Nottingham Forest, and Forest are very leaky at the back. So like if there are concrete news that Vardy doesn't start, I feel that Patson Daka, who's near around who's around the same price range, I feel he's also a very decent shout.
Is there a
Okay.
question to? I mean, is there a shout for Hinacho maybe here in this conversation as well?
No, I don't
Like
think so.
I think from the start of the season, as it has been looking like, because he is third in the pecking order behind both Vardy and Patson Daka. So like if both of them are fit, I don't think he will get those minutes. More so because like Leicester are in the bottom of the table. They are in a must-win situation now.
But how about going for someone like Julian Alvarez? Because he's also not had a bad start, and plus you yourself are saying that because there are 3-4 games, 3-4 days between games for all the teams, City might be using him more often. So is Julian Alvarez a striker that one might go for, especially as a replacement for Isaac?
But if you go for like Julian Alvarez, he's rated around he's priced around 6.4 or 6.5, I think. So like, and it is very unlikely that City will start both Haaland and Alvarez in this stretch of fixtures, because you see they in at least like while in the attacking front they might have a few easy fixtures in the upcoming game, but in the defensive front, those are not easy fixtures. Like they will be playing Manu this week. Then I think they have an easy fixture against Southampton, where maybe Julian Alvarez might get out 50 or 60 minutes in the left or right wing. If Pep Guardiola wants to start him, then I think that they have Liverpool, and I don't see Julian Alvarez starting against Liverpool. Then they have a blank game week. So inevitably, you are just buying Julian Alvarez just for that one Southampton game, which also you are not sure whether he will start or not. And like if you are buying Julian Alvarez, then you are blocking yourself from other City assets who are more likely to give you more points in the future, like the midfielders or the City fullbacks or the City defenders. If you want to take a punt on them.
Okay. But so let's move to Rahul Saha's team also. And let's, Rahul, just take us through your team and tell us the kind of changes that you've made, and if any, and the reasons behind
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I think I made two changes. Now the first one is a very funny change because it was made right after the deadline ended for game week 8. Because I was sure that I would be moving out Gabriel Jesus from my team. So as soon as game week 8's deadline ended, I transferred him out for Alexander Mitrovic, simply because I didn't want to, spend that extra point one or point two in this 1 or 2 game 2 weeks, because when I bought him, Mitrovic was priced at 6.7 million. He's now I think 6.9 million. So eventually I saved point 2 there, and then I had to make a forced transfer because Morgan Gibbs White was in my team, but he is I think injured. So in place of him, I had to, and I had more than 3 million in the bank, so I bought in James Madison, given the run of fixtures that Leicester have. It was a no-brainer since because if you look at my bench, there are not very many options who can uh, give me a better return than Morgan Gibbs White or Madison in this particular game week because Forest are facing Leicester who have a good defense, and Leicester themselves are facing Forest who themselves have a good defense. So it will be goals galore. So you have to take that. I had to take that punt because I see the potential of Madison or even scoring 10, 12, or 15 points in this game. So I had to it was too irresistible for me.
Okay. So I hope you have a great week, Rahul, with this team, except for the City players that you put in your team. And we can just have a look at my team now. I haven't made any changes overall, but I do have some changes of just exchanging my players. I've gone throughout the season. I've gone with mostly 5-3, sorry, 4-3-3 or a 3-4-3 with three strikers in front. And this time I went with a 4-4-2 because I didn't want any City player in my team. It is like a conflict of interest for me, something I can't handle. So I've taken out Haaland and I've taken out Bernardo, and I've gone with four defenders this time, with Alexander Arnold getting into the team, and Gordon coming in place of Bernardo. It is slightly risky, but I think I have, even without Bernardo, I do have faith in all four of my midfielders to deliver for me. And plus, Kane and Jesus are two strikers in form, so I'm sure they would anyway give me some points. And my four defenders as well are people who have been consistent. Except, and Alexander Arnold is obviously coming into the game, so yeah, I'm still very sure that even without Haaland Bernardo this week, I would obviously be putting them back in the next game week. We could have a great week both in the EPL and the FPL. But yeah, so any after looking at all four teams, Rahul,
So I
now
have
Naresh.
one question. Are you seriously looking to give the armband to Pascal Gross?
No, 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 no. That's something I have to correct. I also just
Yeah,
had a look
I
at
was
it, and
wondering, are you really looking to do
yeah,
that? Because
no,
that's
no, no.
really left field.
I know. That's something I. In fact, if this was not a fixture against United, I wouldn't have probably had Gross in this team because probably I just want to see for 1 week what happens to Brighton with a new coach in town, and I might have just gone with Gordon for this week. So so that's why I'm going to take it off him, and I'm most probably be giving it to Kane for this week, and I hope Kane has a great week against Arsenal. But yeah,
Yeah,
we
he
have some.
always does.
Yeah,
We are prepared for it.
Not this time. Not
yeah.
this time.
I don't expect us to keep a clean sheet, Rahul.
Yeah, yeah, definitely in this game. I think it might be a draw. I got that feeling.
Yeah, e- either it will be an Arsenal win or it will be a draw. I don't see Spurs winning it, that's for sure. So it will either be a draw or it's a Arsenal win. And my heart says, my heart says it will be either a 2-1 or a 3-1 Arsenal win, but my brain says it will be 2-all draw. Like Spurs will nick it at the end somehow.
I hope it's other way around 3-1 again.
Let's see. It it can, but let's see. Okay,
Yeah,
It's
sorry.
with
Shweta,
my gut
let's
feeling
move
is
on.
Uh,
it might be a draw. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So this is an optimal wildcard draft which has been prepared by Sports Khabri, and Rahul Saha, I leave it up to you if you can just guide us through this, and yeah, please, Rahul, it's all yours.
Yeah. So this is a wildcard draft that I prepared for those people like who are looking to wildcard this game week, and this is a draft that will basically set you up for the next 8 game weeks, in my opinion. Now, excuse me. If you see, like in my own team, I have Nick Pope. However, like The sort of outfield players that I've gone with here, it was more viable if you spend the minimum amount of money on in your goalkeeping department. So I've just went with two starters and spent only 8.5 million on Vincent Guetta and Danny Ward from Leicester. Now, Crystal Palace have shown last season that they can be very good defensively, although they have conceded a lot of chances and big chances in the opening 8 game weeks. But we have to keep it into consideration that they have faced some very tough games in those 8 fixtures, and their fixtures will drastically improve in these upcoming game weeks. And it is very possible that he can get at least three clean sheets in these sort of fixtures. And with Crystal Palace, there will be always safe points, so you will get 1 or 2 points regardless every single game. Now, when we come to the back line, I feel like with Liverpool's midfield back and ready to, uh, hit the ground running, I feel it is time to, get your Liverpool assets back into your squad, because if you don't, like, you will miss out on something big here, because the fixture that they have in front of them also says that although like defensively they might struggle, but in the offensive front they will score goals, because as we know with football, like, it is a domino effect that the midfield cripple the back line as well their attack. So with the midfield back, I expect them to improve exponentially. So Trent Alexander, being the creative outlet he is, come straight back in this optimal draft. And alongside him as the next highest priced defender, I have Reece James. Like, he too is a no-brainer. However, although it was, people could have gone with the likes of Yao Cancelo, but my thing is that Cancelo faces Manu this game week, then he has Liverpool in game week 7, game week 11, following which the City have a blank game week against Arsenal. So in the next run of 4 game weeks, there is only potential for one clean sheet and, let's say, 1 or 2 assists maybe. And if you compare the two assets, Reece James and Yao Cancelo, I think you will get more value for money with the Reece James, given the run of fixture Chelsea have from now on till the World Cup. Now, next up, we have Kiran Trippier, who I think is a no-brainer given the price he's at, because he's also on set-piece duties. And although Newcastle have been shaky at the back, away from home, they have been very good at home, and it has been proven in the first 7 to 8 game weeks. And now, next up, I have James Justin, which in many people's eyes can be a left field move. However, I feel that Leicester City, along with Crystal Palace, have the best run of fixture from now till the end of the till the World Cup. That is Game Week 16. So, and in the recent weeks, we have seen the likes of both James Justin and Timothy Castagna get very high up the field. And given the fixtures they have, especially in the next 2 game weeks, that is this week, Leicester will be facing Nottingham Forest, followed by Bournemouth. So if you are looking to target a budget enabler who can be a great differential for you, I feel like James Justin is the guy for you. Then as the fifth defender, I have Nico Williams. Like, this is a no-brainer. Most people have him in his squad because he, given the right fixture, will give you points. Now, when it comes to the midfield, Mohamed Salah comes back into the team. For me, like, now is the time that most people will see what like Liverpool and Salah can deliver, and hope like this starts as soon as this game week, because Brighton have a new manager, Disbury, uh, and if you look at his approach, like, he's somewhat similar to Graham Potter when it comes to the attacking front. However, his teams tends to be very open at the back, so which is very enticing for the likes of Trent Alexander and Mohamed Salah, who are the main outlets for Liverpool. After him, I have James Madison. As I said, like Leicester have a great run of fixtures, so James Madison comes in, walks into my team. Like even against Spurs, he had a great game. He had 7 shots on target. He created 4 chances, scored a goal. So like it is not like he's just a fat tag bully. Like he will, and plus he is also on set piece duty. So that makes him a great asset to have in this 7 to 5 to 8.5 million price range, because there aren't many options in that price bracket, at least as of now in this season. The likes of Phil Foden, Bukayo Saka, they have shown performances in patches. However, they haven't been consistent enough, which isn't the case with Madison. So for me, he's the first pick. Then again, Wilfried Zaha walks into the team, followed by the Gabriel Martinelli, who I feel in that 6 to 6.5 price bracket is the go-to option. There isn't another alternative. Yeah, yeah, like Marcus Rashford was one at 6.5. However, he's injured now, and it is very unlikely that he starts his United's next game against City. Moreover, if you look at United themselves, they are more dependent on the to transition than and if you look at the fixtures, the teams that they will be coming up against, they aren't more that transition heavy. So if you compare the two, I still feel that Martinelli is the go-to guy in that price bracket. And then Murphy from Newcastle United is just a squad filler at 4.5, because if you look at the dynamics of the team, you would either go with a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-2 or something like that. It is very unlikely they would go with a 5 in the midfield. So Murphy is just a spot filler. Then in the forward line, I have a differential in the form of Brennan Johnson, who at 5.9 million can be a great differential in my opinion, because although Forest have been, let's be honest, shitty this far this season, they have the run of fixtures that where he can give you those output. And like the likes of Brennan Johnson, or let's say Dominic Solanke from Bournemouth, these two assets remind me of a certain team of Pookie from Norwich, because if you compare the teams, like the Norwich themselves, Norwich, Bournemouth, or let's say Forest, they are on a similar level. And Pookie, in the 2 seasons that Norwich got relegated, scored around 10 or 12 goals and delivered 4 or 5 assists. So so the likes of Johnson and Solanke are also capable of delivering this end product on the given day. Next up, I have Mitrovic, which is a no-brainer. Like you got to have him. Like after Haaland, he is the guy. Like he has the best XG. He's the most big involvement and everything. And then there's Erling Haaland. So yeah, this is basically the optimal draft, which I feel will serve everyone very well who go with it when if they have activated their wildcard this game week.
That was quite a detailed analysis, and especially because one thing that people need to keep in mind is that, according to Rahul, this wild card will keep you steady from game week 9 to game week 16, which in itself is quite some research here. We have some other data which we have compiled from through Sports Cabri for you, and we can have the next one up on the next creative up, and we can just go through it once. So this is the points predictions for the defenders for the coming game week 9 to 16, and Alexander Arnold is has been predicted to give around 43.9 points, which stands to 5.5 points per game. And then we have Ricky James. He's predicted to give us 40.1 points, which comes down to 5.5 points per game. And then Cancelo, Van Dijk, and Thiago Silva with 36.8, 36.5, and 34.3, respectively. So Rahul, Naresh, Ali, do you guys how accurate do you guys think that this is going to be, or you guys differ from this analysis?
Uh, I'm still not sure about Trent Alexander-Arnold delivering 5.5 per week. I'm not convinced enough with Liverpool right now. That is the reason. So I'll give. They have two very difficult games against Arsenal and City. after this Brighton game, and there might be a chance that they might struggle against Brighton. They might. So these first three games, I'm not sure about how much he'll end up. Particularly clean sheets for Liverpool right now is has been a misery, to be honest. So I'm not sure about Trent Alexander-Arnold, and same goes with Van Dijk because of the clean sheets. Rest of the players, I'm pretty convinced that they might deliver the same.
And Rahul Naresh, do you think the presence of two Chelsea defenders and two Liverpool defenders, two teams who haven't had a good defensive season or yet, do you see these defenders scoring so many points across the next 8 game weeks?
Um, with Chelsea in particular, I don't mind it at all. I think from now on till up until the World Cup, I would back Chelsea defenders to score points, and same for the Liverpool players. I mean, I wouldn't mind taking a punt on Liverpool players now, um, particularly because, like Rahul mentioned, their midfield is back, and hopefully this is the time that everything comes together for them, and they start scoring goals and keeping clean sheets. Yeah, I wouldn't mind taking a punt on them, but it really depends on how many of these defenders you can actually bring into your team. If you have two or three of the defenders on this list, it would be great for you. But again, it's about how willing you are to spend on your defense over, say another position, probably like your forwards.
Let's have a look at the second page of this. The five more defenders that we've so there's Cucurella, Koulibaly, Walker, Diaz, Fofana. So one thing that we can see is that this list mostly has players from the top six, and namely Liverpool, Chelsea, and City. So Rahul Saha, if I ask you, is there any defender from any other club which you would substitute here?
Any defender from other clubs. Like the reason that these defenders are here is because these teams are tried and tested. Right now, if you are to look at defenders from other teams, then eventually that will be taking a punt. Nothing other than that. Let's say we talk about defenders from Spurs. Spurs themselves, although like the paper suggests that Spurs are third on the league, they have scored 17 points. They've conceded just 7 goals, which on paper looks very good after playing 7 games. However, if you look at the underlying stats, they are on average conceding 17 to 18 shots per game. They have kept just one or two clean sheets in the 7 games, and they are the fourth highest for most big chances conceded. Then after that, what are the defense can you look at? You can look at the Arsenal defense. They have been good, but then they have been also unfortunate in conceding silly goals, and now they are facing the likes of Spurs, followed by Liverpool and others. Then we had very good defenders from Brighton, but now that Graham Potter has left Brighton, so the probability of Brighton defenders scoring points is also not there. Crystal Palace is one team that you can look to target, because just because in the optimal draft I was saying that Crystal Palace are capable of keeping clean sheets. They have shown it last season because they kept 11 clean sheets last season. Albeit they had Conor Gallagher last season, which played a big role, and his absence has also played a big role in them shipping big chances this season. So if you are to take a punt, you can take a punt on the likes of Mark Guehi. I feel he's priced at 4.3 million as of now. Then if you want attacking outlets that that aren't dependent just on clean sheets, then you can look at the likes of James Justin or Timothy Castagna from Leicester. Mings is
But
there for
Rahul,
Aston Villa. Yeah,
when
go
you
on.
talk about a punt, like Naresh said, that even picking up Liverpool players right now seems like a punt because because of just the kind of
Mhm.
start that Chelsea and Liverpool have had. But having a look at the fixtures, I know that Everton has did not have the brightest start to the season, but despite everything, despite all the opticals and everything, they have still conceded 6 goals in their 7 fixtures. I'm sure something must be going right there, despite all the pressure that they have had to have conceded equal goals to Liverpool and then lesser goals than Chelsea, is should be an achievement for them. and their defense
Yes,
particularly.
yes, you can look. Yes, you can look at Everton defense, but yeah, but that's the thing that you aren't like. And the thing with Everton is that you are looking at they have conceded 6 goals, but you have to look at that how many clean sheets have they kept in total. Let's say like they have conceded six, but let's say they have conceded 1 goal in every single game. So that doesn't bode well for the team as well, right? Because they aren't keeping clean sheets and their defenders are just giving you 2 points each. So that's the
Hmm.
point I was making. So that if yeah,
Hmm.
you can look at other teams, but you have to you practically look at whether this team is capable of giving you clean sheets or not. So like if you are looking at budget enablers, you have to play the fixtures. When you're looking at premiums, you can look past the fixtures and look at the premium player itself because like let's say like his team might not get the clean sheet or anything, but at the end of the day, he will let's say the premiums are let's say the James, Trent, and Cancelo here. So let's say they are not keeping the clean sheet, but then they will give you those attacking outputs. So at the end of the day, they are balancing out in one way or the other. So that's my main point here. So you
Okay,
have to look at both
understood.
aspects.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So we would be moving up to the forwards next, and our point predictions for the forwards. And so, of course, Haaland tops the list because he's had a crazy start to the season, and he should be averaging 6.6 points a game, followed by Kane, who's at 6.2, Mitrovic, who's also had a very good start to the season, dropping slightly to 4.8, and then Callum
Shraddha,
Wilson at yeah.
remember Haaland also has a blank in between here. So while others have these points from 8 games, Kane has those points from one less fixture. So you have to keep that in
Okay,
mind as well.
okay, all right,
Like all the
all right.
Manchester City, Arsenal assets here. Like
They've had
we have the predicted points, but their predicted points have 1 game less in it. So they are bound to have a few bit less points compared to the other assets.
But looking at the table, it says that Mitrovic and Wilson and Solanke also have
Mhm.
games from 9 to game week 9 to 16. Am I missing something here?
No, no, like every players have their predicted points, cumulated from game week 9 till game week 16. So like let's
Yes.
say like Solanke is like expected to score 4 or 5 points in game week 9. Then he's
Hmm.
expected to score 3 points in game week 10. So all these things are added up from game week 9 to 16. So what I'm saying is that for all the other assets here, apart from the City and Arsenal assets, every assets have their predicted point for 8 matches, whereas City and Arsenal assets have their predicted points for 7 matches because they have a blank in game week 12. So technically,
Okay,
so
okay, okay.
because of
So,
that, these
so they
assets will
they are
have a
not
bit
okay,
yeah,
okay.
less point
So
compared
basically,
to others.
basically, Arsenal and City won't be playing in game week 12. Okay, so that's something I
Hmm.
completely missed. So yeah, let's move on to the page two of this. And we have Mopai at 4.3, Vardy at 4.2, Jesus at 4.2, Watkins at 4.2, and Aubameyang, surprisingly, who still hasn't, if I'm not wrong, he's not started any game for Chelsea yet, right?
He
And
did.
he's at
He did. I think
4.1.
one game.
He did it?
Yeah, I think he started the last game, if I'm not wrong.
No,
I
like he hasn't started in the
Premier
Premier
League,
League. Like he has played for them in
exactly.
the Champions League.
Champions
Okay.
League, exactly, exactly. So that's a very interesting choice there. Him scoring 4.1 points per game from game week 9 to 16. So Ali, what do you make of this prediction table? Do you think one of these players could spring a surprise, or there could be a complete surprise out of this list also?
I think this list, both of the pages are pretty much justified. They might deliver, but the doubts are over probably Solanke because that's clearly taking a chance on him, and again maybe on Watkins too. So these two are for me a doubt, but rest of the them I think they might deliver. And for forwards, I think the kind Ivan Tony can also give more points. So he can deliver around 35 at least. Even though Brentford haven't been better in the last 2 games, but I think Ivan Tony will deliver more points. I would include him in this list.
And Naresh,
Actually,
do you
yeah,
think?
basically, Tony doesn't have the fixtures, you know. That's the issue here.
Yeah,
Like Brentford have
yeah,
very
yeah.
good fixtures from game week 1 to 9, but from 10 to 16 they have very bad fixtures.
Yeah, I know, but he has been scoring against in difficult matches too. So he has
Mm-hmm.
shown it for the
Yeah,
second season
that's
running.
true.
We can have a look at the predictions for the midfielders for game week 9 to 16, and then we'll have Rahul Naresh giving his opinion on that list. So that's the point predictions for the midfielders for the coming week with Mohamed Salah at 7.1, Son at 6.3, which is after his last fixture. Obviously, Son is back into the picture with the kind of performance he put in. And then De Bruyne, one of the regulars at 5.9, and Luis Diaz at 5.5, Fernandez there at 5. And just moving on to the next 5 people on this list. We have Sterling at 5, Foden at 4.9, Zaha at 4.9, and Madison, who's had a good start to the season despite Leicester's performance at 4.5. And then Mason Mount, obviously, who's also not had the greatest of the starts for the season at 4.3. Rahul, what do you make of this? Any person you would have put in this list instead of the 10 players that are there?
Not any person, but I definitely have Zaha and Madison over somebody like Son. Yeah, okay, Son had a good 20 minutes in one game. I don't think it's something that we can really base our entire 9 to 16 game week 9 to 16 games off of. I'd definitely bank on somebody like Zaha and Madison who are doing well and doing it consistently and who've done it consistently for the last few games. So yeah, I'd definitely wait on Son. I don't think he's the second or third best option yet amongst the midfielders for your. I mean, just amongst the picks.
Rahul Saha, so what do you think? What's your analysis behind this list?
Well, I backed Son last season, and it certainly didn't backfire, did it? And yeah, like just to like speak on that, because yeah, Son had a bad 6 games, but that doesn't take away the fact that he has been one of the best players in the Premier League for the past 5 seasons, and in those 20 minutes, he just showed that what he is capable of doing. And and although like I hate Spurs, to the bottom of my heart. But the only reason that the only player in that Spurs team that I admire is Heung-min Son because I feel he's a mentality beast. And what he showed is the in those 20 minutes is that, and you will see a different side of him just because of that. And like we have him, like we have the Arsenal fixture coming up next. So like my main target to have Son was because of this Arsenal game because I know the kind of person he is and I know that by the time this Arsenal game comes up he will turn up which fortunately he did in the Leicester game and I got to reap the rewards for it. So yeah, I like all like I have backed him and I will continue to back him back Son especially because if you look at the likes of like the Harry Kane or Richarlison or Kulusevski and Son is the most advanced player out of the 4 players there. So if you are to back someone, you should back someone other than anyone else. For me,
Then again, I think Rahul Saha and Ali Ghazi are in the same boat this weekend. They are going to lose it from one aspect, either the EPL or the FPL. But let's hope for the best for both of you. One last question before we probably wrap this down quickly, and this is a question for all of
Sorry,
you.
sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt. You can't hope for the best for Arsenal.
Actually, that was only for you, Ali. Let me just correct myself. No, no, just kidding. Just kidding. I hope FPL wise, Rahul has a great week.
Yeah,
I hope Son scores 4 goals, 5 goals, or maybe even a double
yeah,
hat
I'm
trick.
happy with that.
And Rahul just he goes green completely. In the rankings, not in the other way. In the rankings, he goes green. But also, so just one last
I
question
am
before we
not
probably wrap.
shameless like Holly Shant. Okay, like she was screaming that she wanted a 5-0 Liverpool win when Manchester United were facing Liverpool. So I am not shameless that much shameless. So I am realist. that, and I know the fact for a fact that Spurs will score goal. Like there are no two ways about it. So I
I
like
think, yeah, I think this is a
if I say
if
that
you
they won't score, I am being deluded here.
no, no, of course, of course. See, that is something that we all know that, like, even with the City United game, we are sure City is going to score, and we can just hope that United scores more goals than them.
Yeah, that's
No,
why
But
I
my
think
point
I'll
is,
United
yeah,
will also score goal. Like there won't be a
absolutely,
clean sheet for
absolutely,
either
yeah.
team.
Exactly. So, and plus, I think if our listeners remembered during one of the earlier episodes of this podcast, we'd already discussed that this season probably it's going to be hard to see clean sheets because of the attacking mentality this season and with all the changes that the clubs have done. But Arsenal obviously has a point to prove this week after what happened last season. They were above Tottenham, they were comfortable in the Champions League spots, but that defeat against Spurs really changed a lot of things. So this is actually a very good test for Arsenal to show their title credentials and show that they are also mentality beasts, and the mental aspect is also a point which Mikel Arteta has worked on. But just coming back to the FPL, one final question before we quickly wrap this up: has this international break taught you guys anything about you know m- uh, your preferences for the player or someone you would want to put on the basis of the performances in the international break? Specifically, I could probably ask a question about Diego Dallo, because Diego Dallo had a very great international break. He scored two goals, and then he was very good defensively, attackingly. He was one of the best fullbacks on show in the international break. So similarly, is there any player you would probably see that the performance and put him in your team?
actually
Any
I
of
was
you can start, yeah. Ali?
Yeah, actually, I was about to name Diogo Dallo that he might turn up with 30 plus points in between game week 9 to 16. So I completely missed it. I do think he has improved a lot even defensively and in the attack, and the way in the last two matches, three matches, I've seen him linking up with Anthony on the right side. He now has a player whom he communicates pretty well initially at very early stages, and he's well advanced and he has those qualities to deliver, to be honest. And United are showing that they can keep clean sheets too. So I'll back on him. I won't have him in my team just to jinx him, but I think he'll be good.
I think just take the punt.
I've
No, no,
taken the punt
after
at
this
the
week.
start of the season, and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it was miserable for me. So
No, no, Ali,
I'm
I
not gonna
But
completely
take the
now
punt
you
right
have
now.
a big enough sample size, right? You didn't have
no, no,
a
no, do it.
sample
No,
size or
Ali,
a reference
do
Yeah,
it
point.
after the
but
probably
yeah,
after this game.
yeah. I'll wait for till this game or maybe the Spurs game.
But Rahul, any Rahul Naresh, any surprises for you? Sorry, not surprises, but any player to look out for you after the international break? Someone you were tempted to put in your team because of his performances in the international break?
No, not really. I think it's completely different. You really have to bring things into context. You can only look at people playing at an international level if they're playing in the same system or they're playing in a team that plays the same style. Otherwise, it doesn't work for you because you're playing in a completely different system, completely different side in the Premier League versus your international team. Just because Harry Maguire starts a couple of games for England doesn't mean I bring him into my FPL team, right? So
Yeah, that's true.
yeah. So
And
it,
also,
it
also,
does.
it just doesn't mean that if Harry Maguire starts for England, he stops being shit. So that some things
Exactly.
remain the same.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, but fair point, fair point. Fair enough. That's actually quite a good point. Rahul Saha, any
Yeah, so
picks from your end?
just on the basis of form, the one player that has been on my watch list and will continue to be on my watch at least for the foreseeable 1 or 2 game weeks is Luis Sinistera from Leeds United. Like before the international game week, he scored 2 goals in 2 game weeks for
Yeah,
Leeds.
I completely
I
changed
think,
the game
and
against
in
that
I
as
think
well.
in accumulation he scored 15 or 16 points. And then in the international break also he scored 2 goals with Colombia. So like he is in a good run of form. So he's someone I can put a punt on. Say let's say game week 10 or 11, but not right now.
Okay.
Anybody you have in your mind?
Well, I mentioned it. I think Diego Dallo's performance
Oh
really
yeah, yeah, sure.
surprised me, especially his two goals, and even if you ask me, Richarlison's performance. and Bruno Fernandes' performance for the actually his Bruno Fernandes' performance in the first game had surprised me, but in the after the second game, I was again like, there is still some inconsistency creeping into his game. But Richarlison's performance overall, in the Brazil game, it really I thought that probably he's on the way, on the verge of doing something, because before going into the international break, he was hitting form. He did score a couple of goals against in the Champions League, so probably he's someone I will look for in the coming weeks. But yeah, Diego Dallos slowly, slowly. I don't want to jinx it like Ali said, but slowly he's rising as a player who I might have in my team in the future. But thank you so much, guys. It's been a pleasure talking to you all again after such a long break. And let's hope for great football action for the next month and a half till the World Cup starts rolling. And I'm sure that we would be doing a lot of interesting stuff around the World Cup as well. And yeah, I'm just happy that the football season is back, as I am sure that all of you are. And let's all have a great weekend. All of you out there listening to us tonight, please follow Sports Khabri, subscribe on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, everywhere, and we guys will be delivering more and more such content. And thank you so much, Rahul Saha, Rahul Naresh, Ali Kazi, as always, for being wonderful guests with your wonderful opinions. And we hope to speak really soon, much sooner than this last break that we guys have had. Thank you so much, guys, and good night.
Thank you. Bye bye.